Anger is one of the most powerful emotions we experience, and it has the potential to cloud our judgment and lead us down paths we later regret. When you're angry, your brain is often in fight or flight mode, prioritizing immediate reactions over thoughtful responses. In these moments, the instinct to speak or act quickly can feel overwhelming. Words can tumble out unchecked and unfiltered, carrying the weight of raw emotion instead of reason. But once spoken, those words cannot be taken back. They can harm relationships, damage trust, and escalate situations unnecessarily. Choosing silence in anger is not about suppressing how you feel, but about creating space between your emotions and your response. It's about giving yourself the opportunity to regain clarity and control. When you pause, even for a few seconds, you interrupt the cycle of reactive behavior. That pause becomes a moment of power, a moment where you reclaim your ability to think and act with intention, rather than letting anger dictate your actions. In this silence, you can reflect. What are you truly upset about? Is it the situation at hand, or is it tied to something deeper: stress, frustration, or unresolved feelings? Silence creates a buffer zone where you can assess the root cause of your emotions. It allows you to step back, to observe the situation objectively rather than being consumed by it. Moreover, silence prevents unnecessary escalation. When both parties are angry, words can become weapons, and the conversation can quickly spiral out of control. But when one person chooses to remain silent, it introduces calmness into the exchange. It shifts the dynamic, offering a chance for tempers to cool and for the discussion to move toward resolution instead of conflict. Silence in this case is not weakness, it's strength. It demonstrates emotional intelligence and maturity, a willingness to prioritize understanding over winning an argument. This practice of silence also cultivates self-awareness. It forces you to listen not just to others, but to yourself. What is your inner dialogue saying? Is your anger justified, or is it fueled by assumptions and misunderstandings? Silence gives you the time to discern between the two, helping you avoid impulsive decisions and enabling you to respond with clarity and wisdom when the time is right. There's a natural human desire to defend our perspective, to prove that we are correct when our beliefs or actions are challenged. This drive comes from a place of pride, of wanting acknowledgement, and sometimes even from a need to protect our self-worth. However, the reality is that not every situation benefits from being right. There are moments when proving your point can create more harm than good, leading to unnecessary conflict, damaged relationships, and lingering tension. In these moments, silence becomes a conscious choice, a decision to prioritize peace over the fleeting satisfaction of validation. When you argue to prove a point, it can often escalate into a battle of egos. The conversation shifts from an exchange of ideas to a competition, where both sides are more focused on winning than on truly understanding one another. This type of interaction rarely leads to resolution or mutual respect. Instead, it deepens divides and leaves both parties feeling misunderstood. Choosing silence in these situations isn't about surrendering or agreeing, it's about recognizing that the cost of being right outweighs the benefit. Silence in this context is a sign of strength. It reflects your ability to detach from the need for external validation and find security in your own understanding. When you know you're right, you don't need to announce it or force others to see it your way. Truth has a way of revealing itself over time, often more effectively than any argument could. By remaining silent, you create the space for others to reflect and potentially come to the same realization on their own. This approach is especially powerful in relationships, whether personal or professional. Arguments, even over minor issues, can leave lasting scars if handled poorly. The need to win an argument can overshadow the deeper importance of maintaining respect and harmony. Silence allows you to avoid saying things in the heat of the moment that might hurt the other person or strain the relationship. It shows that you value the connection more than the immediate satisfaction of being proven right. Silence also allows you to observe. When you step back from the conversation, you gain a clearer view of the dynamics at play. Are the other person's objections driven by misunderstanding, fear, or past experiences? Is there a way to address their concerns without escalating the conflict? Silence gives you the opportunity to process these nuances and respond, if needed, from a place of wisdom rather than impulse. In some cases, proving you're right might even be unnecessary because the situation itself is insignificant in the larger picture of your life. When you choose silence, you conserve your energy for the battles that truly matter, avoiding the exhaustion and frustration that come from engaging in every disagreement. Silence, therefore, becomes a way to protect your mental and emotional well-being, allowing you to focus on what truly aligns with your values and goals. Negativity is a pervasive force, one that can seep into your mind and life through conversations, environments, and even your own internal dialogue. Whether it's gossip, complaints, or outright criticism, negativity often seeks an audience to validate it, to grow in strength. Engaging with it, even out of politeness or curiosity, can pull you into its vortex, leaving you feeling drained, stressed, or even questioning your own positivity. Silence in these situations acts as a shield, an impenetrable barrier that keeps negativity from invading your mental and emotional space. When someone approaches you with gossip, for example, the impulse may be to listen, to add your own opinions, or to react in some way. After all, gossip can sometimes be enticing, a way to bond or feel included. But every time you engage in gossip, you're feeding into its energy, giving it life, and inadvertently contributing to the cycle of negativity. By choosing silence instead, you remove the fuel it needs to continue. Your lack of reaction sends a subtle but powerful message: you're not a participant in this kind of dialogue. Over time, those who thrive on gossip will either change the tone around you or seek out others who enable their behavior. Negativity isn't always directed at others. It can also come in the form of complaints or cynicism about life. These kinds of conversations can weigh heavily on you, especially if you absorb the energy of the people around you. When someone is complaining incessantly or dwelling on problems without seeking solutions, engaging with them can feel like walking through quicksand. Every response you give, whether it's agreement, sympathy, or advice, pulls you deeper into their negative state. Silence, on the other hand, creates distance. It allows you to acknowledge their feelings without being consumed by them. Your quiet presence can even encourage them to reflect on their own words and potentially seek more constructive ways to express themselves. Criticism is another form of negativity that silence protects you from. Whether it's constructive or not, criticism often comes with an emotional charge. Your instinct might be to defend yourself, to explain, or to push back. But in doing so, you give power to the critic. You allow their words to dictate your energy and focus. Silence, however, disarms them. Without a reaction, their words lose momentum. Silence allows you to process their comments on your own terms, deciding if they hold value without the pressure of an immediate response. Silence is also a powerful tool when negativity is internal. Your own thoughts can sometimes be your harshest critic, filling your mind with doubt, fear, or pessimism. In these moments, silence doesn't mean ignoring your thoughts, but sitting with them without judgment. Instead of arguing with your inner negativity or trying to suppress it, you let it flow through you. This quiet reflection often reveals that many negative thoughts are fleeting, baseless, and unworthy of your energy. By choosing silence in the face of negativity, you create a protective bubble around your well-being. It's not about avoidance or indifference, it's about choosing what you allow into your mental and emotional space. Silence gives you control. It keeps you grounded, focused on your values, and aligned with the positivity you want to cultivate in your life. Manipulation is a subtle and often insidious tactic used by individuals who seek to control or influence others for their own benefit. It can take many forms: emotional appeals designed to guilt you into compliance, cleverly twisted words that distort reality, or persistent pressure that erodes your resolve over time. Manipulators thrive on reactions. They rely on your need to explain, defend, or justify yourself. Every word you say becomes another tool they can use to steer the situation in their favor. This is why silence is such a powerful antidote to manipulation. By refusing to engage, you strip manipulators of the power they seek to wield over you. When you're confronted with manipulation, the immediate urge might be to push back or to explain why their perspective is flawed. This response, while understandable, often plays directly into their hands. Manipulators are skilled at twisting words, making you feel like the unreasonable one and keeping you caught in a cycle of justification. They may try to provoke you, to stir up emotions, or to create confusion, all in an effort to maintain control. Silence interrupts this cycle. It denies them the reaction they crave and forces them to face their own tactics without the fuel of your participation. Silence in these moments isn't passive. It's a deliberate and active choice. It allows you to reclaim your power by refusing to engage on their terms. This doesn't mean you're ignoring the situation or letting it go unchecked. Instead, you're taking a step back to observe. Silence gives you the space to analyze their motives, their words, and the dynamics of the interaction without being clouded by the need to respond immediately. It shifts the focus from their attempts to control you to your own understanding of the situation. In professional settings, manipulation can often appear as subtle coercion or pressure to conform to someone else's agenda. A colleague might frame a request in a way that makes you feel obligated to agree, or a superior might use flattery or veiled criticism to nudge you toward a decision. Responding immediately in such cases can lead to commitments or concessions that you may later regret. Silence, however, gives you the time to consider your options and decide how you truly want to proceed. It's a way of saying without words that you won't be rushed or cornered. Manipulation also thrives on emotional hooks, particularly in personal relationships. A friend, family member, or partner might use guilt, fear, or pity to sway you. They may frame their needs as emergencies or make you feel responsible for their happiness. In these moments, silence becomes a boundary, a way of protecting yourself from the weight of emotions that aren't yours to carry. It's not about ignoring their feelings, but about refusing to let their emotions dictate your choices. Silence also creates an unsettling effect for manipulators. When you don't react as expected, it forces them to recalibrate. They're left without the tools they rely on to steer the conversation or situation. They may try harder to provoke you, but the more you remain silent, the clearer it becomes that their attempts are ineffective. This often leads to them revealing their true motives, as their carefully constructed facade begins to crumble in the absence of your cooperation. Ultimately, silence disarms manipulation by shifting the balance of power. It takes you out of the reactive role and places you in a position of control. You're no longer being led by their tactics. Instead, you're observing, assessing, and choosing how to respond on your own terms. Silence gives you the clarity to see manipulation for what it is and the strength to resist its pull. In a world where words are often valued above all else, silence can seem like a weakness, a lack of response, or even an avoidance. However, the truth is that silence is one of the most powerful forms of communication. It speaks louder than any words ever could, carrying with it a depth and a weight that demands attention. In moments when words fail, when they would only dilute the message or escalate a situation, silence becomes a statement of strength, of self-assurance, boundaries, and clarity. It is not an absence, but a presence that speaks volumes. When faced with conflict, disagreement, or tension, silence becomes a formidable force. It is easy to engage in an exchange of words, to argue, to try to prove a point, and to let emotions dictate the direction of the conversation. But when you choose silence, you remove yourself from the cycle of reactivity. Instead of being dragged into a war of words, you stand outside of it, grounded in your own peace. The person who engages in a heated argument often gives away their power. Their emotions, frustrations, and need to be heard drive the conversation. But when you remain silent, you signal that you are not governed by the need to be right or to prove a point. You are driven by something far greater: self-control. Silence in these moments doesn't come from a place of fear or insecurity. It comes from a place of inner strength and confidence. You don't feel the need to fill the space with words because you trust in your own understanding and ability to navigate the situation. When others are seeking validation or approval through words, your silence signals that you do not require external validation. Your strength is not dependent on the approval or agreement of others. It comes from within. This sends a message to those around you that you are in full control of your emotions and your responses. Moreover, silence can be a way of setting boundaries. In relationships, whether personal or professional, there are times when others may try to push you into a corner, test your limits, or provoke a reaction. Silence becomes your shield in these situations. It is a way of asserting that you will not be manipulated or coerced into responding. When someone tries to drag you into their chaos or conflict, your silence tells them that you will not be pulled off course. It shows that your peace is non-negotiable, and you refuse to engage in situations that violate your boundaries. Silence also reveals maturity and emotional intelligence. When faced with criticism, an accusation, or an unjust situation, it can be tempting to respond in kind, defending yourself, retaliating, or launching into a counterattack. But silence takes far more strength than a sharp retort. It requires the ability to remain calm and composed, to observe the situation from a distance without becoming emotionally entangled. When you choose silence in the face of unwarranted attacks, you demonstrate that you are above the need to engage in petty disputes. It reflects an awareness that your self-worth is not tied to the opinions or judgments of others. You understand that your silence does not make you small, it makes you grounded in your own truth. Silence is also a tool of patience and discernment. In moments of uncertainty or complexity, when emotions are high and decisions need to be made, it's easy to rush into action or speak out impulsively. But silence offers clarity. It provides the space to reflect, to think critically, and to understand the bigger picture. In those moments, silence becomes a form of wisdom. It allows you to process your emotions and ideas before responding, ensuring that when you do speak or act, it comes from a place of thoughtfulness rather than reaction. Finally, silence conveys a profound sense of peace. It signals that you are at ease with yourself, secure in who you are and what you stand for. You do not feel the need to prove anything to anyone, nor do you need the constant noise of validation to confirm your worth. Silence reflects a calm inner confidence that does not need to shout for attention but quietly asserts itself in the world. It is a space in which you can be fully present, grounded in the moment, without the pressure of filling the air with words. Silence, in its purest form, is the embodiment of strength, quiet, unshakable, and certain. Self-mastery is one of the highest forms of personal development. It represents a deep understanding of your emotions, thoughts, and behaviors, and the ability to control them rather than allowing them to control you. True mastery over oneself is not about suppressing feelings or desires. It's about choosing how to respond in any given situation with wisdom, intention, and clarity. Silence is one of the most profound reflections of this inner mastery, as it signifies an individual who has learned to govern their impulses, their reactions, and their need for immediate validation. When you achieve mastery over yourself, you stop reacting impulsively to every situation that arises. Instead of immediately filling the air with words, you develop the ability to pause and reflect. This is a hallmark of emotional intelligence. A person who has mastered their own emotions can choose silence when anger, frustration, or confusion may arise, understanding that speaking out of these emotions only fuels the fire. They know that sometimes the most powerful action is to say nothing at all. Silence in such moments is not weakness or indecision. It is a conscious, controlled choice that prevents you from being driven by reactive emotions. It allows you to process your thoughts, regain your composure, and respond when you are centered and clear, not when you are still caught in the grip of your emotions. In many situations, especially during conflict or disagreement, silence acts as a pause button, a deliberate space to break the chain of automatic responses. When faced with criticism or provocation, many people feel compelled to justify themselves or defend their honor. This need to explain or defend stems from a lack of self-mastery, from a place of insecurity or fear of judgment. But silence shows that you no longer need to convince anyone of your worth. It is an indication that you know who you are, and your sense of self is not determined by others' opinions or assessments. The ability to remain silent in the face of criticism or judgment reflects deep self-awareness and confidence. You understand that your actions, not your words, define you. Mastery over oneself also involves an awareness of the power of words. A person who has mastered their inner world knows that every word carries energy, and that words spoken in haste or in anger can have lasting effects. Therefore, silence becomes a tool for protecting your peace and integrity. Before speaking, they take the time to evaluate the impact of their words, considering whether their response will contribute to growth or conflict. Silence reflects the wisdom to know that sometimes words can add nothing but noise, and that it is far more effective to remain quiet and let time reveal the truth. The capacity for silence also demonstrates a profound level of patience and restraint. In the modern world, there is often pressure to speak up, to voice an opinion, or to weigh in on every discussion. The pace of life encourages fast responses, instant decisions, and constant communication. But someone who has mastered themselves knows that not every situation requires an immediate answer or opinion. Sometimes the best course of action is to observe and listen. Silence provides the space for deeper understanding and insight. It enables you to absorb more than what is being said, to read between the lines, and to discern the true nature of a situation. The ability to wait for the right moment to speak or act is a sign of a person who has learned to navigate life with intention and purpose, not driven by the need for external validation. Furthermore, silence serves as a constant reminder of the importance of inner peace. True self-mastery is rooted in inner harmony, and silence allows you to remain anchored in this calm regardless of external circumstances. In a world that often feels chaotic or overwhelming, the ability to find quiet within yourself is a testament to your ability to center yourself. Silence becomes a refuge where you can connect with your deeper sense of self, recalibrate, and make decisions from a place of alignment rather than reactivity. When you have mastered your inner world, you no longer feel the need to escape through constant noise or distractions. Silence becomes a sanctuary in which you can reconnect with your core values, your purpose, and your sense of peace. Finally, silence in moments of discomfort or uncertainty reflects an ability to sit with difficult emotions and situations. Instead of rushing to fill the void with words, distractions, or excuses, self-mastery allows you to be present with what is. Silence, in this context, is an act of self-discipline. It shows that you are not afraid to face your feelings or challenges directly, without relying on external chatter to avoid discomfort. The person who has mastered themselves understands that silence in these moments doesn't mean avoidance, it means acceptance. It means having the strength to sit with the unknown, to allow clarity to arise naturally, and to trust that silence in time will offer the answers you seek. In every aspect of life, silence reflects mastery over self and individual who can remain poised in any circumstance, respond with wisdom, and choose their actions with intention. It is a silent power, a quiet strength that carries far more weight than the loudest words.